Halloween and its traditions have deep roots and a rich history in both America and the world. It's a night of costumes, candy, haunted houses, and deep cultural significance. But where did it all begin? About 2,000 years ago, in the lands we now call Ireland, Scotland, and northern France. Here lived the Celts. They were farmers, warriors, and believers in the supernatural, and they had a special celebration called Samhain, pronounced Samhain. Samhain was one of the most important festivals, falling on October 31st. It marked the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter. The Celts believed Samhain was a time of great significance. On this night, they thought the boundary between our world and the spirit world became thin. The spirits of the dead could return to earth. The Celts celebrated with large gatherings. They built huge sacred bonfires. People gathered to burn crops and animals as offerings to their deities. They wore costumes, often made of animal heads and skins. When the celebration was over, they relit their hearth fires from the sacred bonfire. This was to help protect them during the coming winter. This is the true origin of Halloween. Samhain wasn't just about prophecies and bonfires. It was a time when the Celts believed the veil between the physical world and the spirit world was at its thinnest. This meant the living could potentially interact with spirits, and spirits could cross over into the world of the living. It was a night of both fear and celebration, a time to honor ancestors and appease supernatural beings. The Celts believed that on this night the spirits of their dead ancestors might cross over, but they weren't the only ones. Fairies, demons, and other supernatural creatures could also slip through. The Celts had to be prepared for both. They left offerings of food and drink outside their homes to keep the good spirits happy. They disguised themselves by wearing masks and costumes to trick the evil spirits. If a spirit mistook them for one of their own, it might leave them alone. This tradition of dressing up is one that stuck with us through the centuries. Samhain was also a time for divination, using apples and nuts in their rituals. We've talked about the Celts dressing up to trick spirits, but how did we get from animal skins to superhero costumes? It's a long and winding road. As Samhain evolved into Halloween, so did the tradition of dressing up. In the early days of Halloween in America, costumes were pretty simple. People would often blacken their faces with soot, or wear old clothes turned inside out. Don't forget, like and subscribe right now. But as Halloween became more popular, costumes got more elaborate. In the 1920s and 30s, companies started mass-producing Halloween costumes. Suddenly, kids could dress up as their favorite cartoon characters or classic monsters like vampires and werewolves. Today, Halloween costumes are big business. Adults join in the fun too. We spend billions of dollars each year on costumes, from simple ghost sheets to complex superhero outfits. The spirit of transformation that began with the Celts is still alive and well. Interestingly, our modern costumes often reflect our culture. Our Halloween disguises have become a mirror of our society. From soul cakes to candy, the evolution of trick-or-treating. Now let's talk about everyone's favorite part of Halloween, the candy. But trick-or-treating didn't start with candy. It has its roots in an old Christian tradition called souling. On November 2nd, All Souls' Day, poor people would visit the homes of wealthier families. They'd offer to pray for the family's dead relatives. In return, they'd receive soul cakes, a sweet pastry. As this tradition spread, it evolved. In some places, children would go guising, dressing up in costumes and performing songs, poems, or jokes in exchange for food or money. This practice was popular in Scotland and Ireland. When immigrants from these countries came to America, they brought these traditions with them. In America, trick-or-treating, as we know it today, began to take shape in the 1920s and 1930s. By the 1950s, store-bought candy became the norm for trick-or-treating. Today, Americans spend over $2 billion on Halloween candy each year. Christianity's influence on Halloween. As Christianity spread through Celtic lands, it encountered Samhain. The church had a challenge. People loved this pagan festival, so instead of trying to eradicate it, they decided to adapt it. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III moved All Saints' Day to November 1st. This was a day to honor all saints. The evening before became known as All Hallows' Eve. Sound familiar? That's where we get the name Halloween. The church also introduced All Souls' Day on November 2nd. This was a day to pray for the souls of the dead. These 3 days, All Hallows' Eve, All Saints' Day, and All Souls' Day, became known as Allhallowtide. It was the church's way of integrating Samhain. a time to remember the dead, but with a Christian perspective. However, the old beliefs didn't disappear overnight. People continued many of their Samhain traditions. They still believed in spirits and fairies, they still lit bonfires and wore costumes. A modern twist. So how does our modern Halloween compare to its ancient roots? In many ways, it's very different. We don't believe we're warding off actual spirits. Our jack-o'-lanterns are carved for fun, not protection. And our biggest worry on Halloween night is usually running out of candy. But look closer and you'll see echoes of the past. We still dress up in costumes, just like the ancient Celts. We still celebrate on the night of October 31st. And many of us still feel a thrill at the idea of supernatural forces being closer on this night, even if we don't really believe in them. Halloween is a night when we play with the idea of the otherworldly. Our modern Halloween is also a mix of many traditions. It has elements of Samhain, All Saints' Day, and even some influences from Guy Fawkes' Night. Today's Halloween is a true melting pot of customs. From its Celtic roots to the present day, Halloween remains a night of magic, mischief, and togetherness. Understanding Halloween's true history can enrich our celebration of it today, making it even more meaningful and enjoyable. By appreciating its journey from ancient Samhain to the diverse holiday we celebrate now, we can truly embrace the spirit of Halloween and make our festivities even more special. Like and subscribe right now for more on history, politics, economics, philosophy, and more.